Okay, so in this video I'm going to talk about the differences between basic standard exercises and unconventional advanced exercises. I'm going to start off with the basics and then do a little transition and then talk about the advanced exercises. And then after that I'll also talk about martial arts techniques, the same concept as well. So right now I'm just talking about kind of lifting exercises, and then I'll talk about martial arts techniques towards the end. So like the basics is like the starting point, and it's like broad compound exercises. Um, uh, you could start with like push-ups, pull-ups, bodyweight squats, but for lifting like bench squat, um, maybe deadlift or bent rows. And then after that, so it would be more than those three. It'd be like that, and then like shoulder press, barbell curl, leg curl, things like that. And then after that, it branches out. It's still basic, but it's like filling in the gaps more. So it's more like things like incline press, lunges, low cable row for the back, hammer curls, things like that. They're still basic fundamental exercises, but it's like the next step after like the raw basics. And then after that, it gets more hazy. It gets more hazy into what's more like an advanced, unconventional, and then still like a basic fundamental exercise, or like unnecessary, and what some may deem unnecessary and some would say would be more necessary. And then they get hazy as they start to like target and like pinpoint more like specific areas of the muscle, like an incline fly on a bench with cables. Would be like more of an example of like specific targeting to do that, to get like the upper inner chest. And like the basics are also like the foundation and like the fundamentals. So you always kind of want to base everything off that and return to that and just progress further along in that. And so like the bench and squat are like basic exercises, but then an advanced version of it is just lifting heavier. And then also when you get more advanced in those exercises, heavier lifting, then you also, your form gets a lot cleaner. Your form has to be really tight and clean to perform it safely. And then moving on from there, it's a little debatable whether you should use lifting belts and straps and elbow wraps and stuff like that. I used to do belts and straps. I never got into like elbow and wrist wraps or anything like that, and knee wraps. But I've actually switched to more like pure, no straps or belt or anything. The only time I'll use straps is if I'm doing deadlift, double overhand. And those are, well, I'm not working at a gym with access to that right now. I'm just working at home and at Planet Fitness. But if I was doing deadlift, that'd be the only thing that I'd use straps on. Because if you use straps and a belt, then it becomes less functional and more kind of out there. And you don't work on your grip or develop the core muscles as well. Yeah, I noticed also it may be better to do squats with a belt to target the thighs, but because when you don't use the belt and start going really heavy, your lower back gets a lot thicker, your butt gets a lot bigger, and your hamstrings get a lot bigger. And if you're using the belt, you may just get pure big thighs, which you want. Some people want a really big butt, but that's not a great thing. And then, uh, when you're transitioning, when you're working out like as a beginner, and you see like you come across an exercise, so I'm transitioning to advanced, come across an exercise that you can't do or you don't have equipment for, you don't have access to it, then you can either modify and choose a different exercise or double down on the exercises that you already know. Do more sets of what you already know and do. Um, and I'm gonna do another video on exercising for health and casual exercisers and on health, because I'm not really a casual exerciser. I guess I'm more extreme and advanced in a lot of ways. And so that's also a point. Advanced lifters, they may follow different routines. They built their abilities and their physique and all that on more basic exercises, but then the advanced routine may not be what they built their physiques on. So it's I guess a little caution on following advanced routines. And so what is unconventional and advanced exercises? It's branching off and progressing from the basics. Some are just difficult exercises like a pistol squat or behind the neck movements like a pull-up or a shoulder press. And some are also more specifically suited to someone's bone structure. So like I have a deadlifter's bone structure, so box deadlifts work really well where you stand on a box and do deadlifts. You get more range of motion. And I can do it pretty well, pretty easy because my bone structure supports that. Makes it easier, and it also makes my legs a lot bigger when I do that version. And then overhead squats is another one more specific to squatters, because if you have a squatter's bone structure, which is short thighs and a longer spine, you stand more straight up in a squat anyway instead of like bending over excessively. So like an overhead squat would work better for like a squatter, more suited. And some are unique, effective, uncommon exercises that just people don't do that much. I would say like a really good one is like a pull-up row where you can do it on like parallel bars. You hold yourself on parallel bars and L your feet up, and you can pull your body towards it, so it's like a row, but it's like a body weight pull-up exercise, but it's working the rowing motions, and I don't really see too many people do it, but it's a really good effective exercise. But some are also just people trying to be unusual and different for the sake of being different, trying to look smart or creative when they're just not very effective exercises. And then also unconventional, necessity is the mother of invention. So it's making do with limited equipment to execute basic exercises. So like I do, actually just got a rack, but when I wasn't doing a rack, I was clean the weight up and then push it overhead for a squat, and then same thing for a bench press, clean it up and then sit back on the bench. So it's kind of an unconventional twist on the basics. I may still do those even though I have the power rack, just to keep strong in that cleaning motion, which is good for explosiveness. And general strength and explosiveness. I actually heard Arnold say the other day in an interview that there's no machine that can replicate a clean motion, like a power clean or a clean and press. There's no machine that can replicate that. So there's the necessity, and then there's also variations to target certain areas, different areas of the muscle, like like using blocks and props and stuff like that. Like you'll see like a machine and someone will put like a pad on top of it to get a deeper stretch or something like that. So that's that as far as lifting. And then for the martial arts, it's the same thing. You start off with the basic, fundamental, broad, compound movements, and then specialize more into specifics. And so there's imposing the standard exercises, which is you have to be like very physical. It's generally better for being like very physical. You just impose your will on them. You impose the standard movements on them, which are always really effective and powerful. And then there's modifying your form to reach a specific angle. Instead of just like a straight punch, you may curve it a little bit or something like that. Slight variations on an armbar or something like that. And then modifying your technique for specific opponents. So if you see they always do hold their guard up a certain way or execute a move a certain way, then you may modify a technique to suit them, either offensively or defensively. And then that also goes to like if you're like a professional or something like that, then you'd be watching tape and studying your opponent. But if you're just like on the street, then you just size up their body type and estimate from there, because you don't know anything about them or know very little about them. So that would be modifying to your opponent. And then also going into more unconventional and advanced is the element of surprise, tricking your opponent, which is the positive of it, but the negative is also the positive is if you can, the cleaner you land, like in striking, or the more you can get a submission hold without them knowing what you're doing or expecting what you're doing, the better. So landing clean is the most effective. But the problem, so that's the benefit. The problem is a lot of these moves are, they lack power. They're just done in a non-conventional way, and they're not very strong and stable. Unreliably difficult, and they're flawed in some way or another. Some kind of open guard leaves you vulnerable, or a submission that's like easy to counter or something like that. And they may require an excessive setup, which you can just throw a monkey wrench in the middle of that and stop that. That covers the video. I hope I helped you out in some way, and stay tuned for more videos like this in the future. All right, thanks. Bye.